All right, are you ready for chapter 2? I'm excited to jump into this with you. It has been crazy around here this morning. We've had kids are up and they're ready to go to the beach, and we've had people come in, probably 2 or 3 different people to work on some different things. So it has been a madhouse. Let me show you this beach hat real quick. Yeah, look at that. I have to do a whole video in this hat during our series while I'm here, but not today. Take that off. All right, let's dive into chapter 2 together. Yesterday we talked about cultivating big thinking. Cultivating big thinking. Now we're going to move into engage in focused thinking. I jotted down some notes when I was reading this, and the notes revolved around 2 things. Get a goal and get focused. Get a goal and get focused. So let's talk about getting a goal first. One of the things about getting a goal is when I coach and work with leaders, one of the first questions I ask them is, do you know what a goal is? You might have some things you consider goals, but do you know what a goal is? Can you define it? And for the most part, they can. So let's start with a definition, an agreed on definition of a goal. I'll give you mine. The definition I use for a goal is it is a specific, measurable accomplishment that you want to achieve in a certain time frame. Specific accomplishment, measurable time frame. So when you set a goal, you're asking yourself, what is it that I want to achieve? And I think John Maxwell does a great job on page 12 in this chapter showing us expansive versus selective thinking. Expansive to get the goal. You got to start thinking about all the things you want to achieve, what's going on, where do you want to be in 3 years, what options do you have? That's expansive thinking. Once you decide on that goal, that specific accomplishment that you want to achieve in a certain time frame, now you can zoom in. Now you can have the selective thinking that he's talking about, so you can move towards the goal. It reminds me of the power of focus. I want you to think about the difference between a windshield and a magnifying glass. Sunlight coming through the windshield will warm your face. Sunlight coming through a magnifying glass will cook an egg on the sidewalk. Just a different power of focus. It's the same sunlight, it's just focused differently. Well, that's what we have here. We're going to have this expansive thinking, but then we're going to dial it in, and we're going to get focused once we have our goal. Very important. So then it made me think about focus. Once you get a goal, you've got to put it in front of you. That's one way you can focus, because out of sight, out of mind. And on page, 19, John Maxwell says, if they're not written, he's talking about goals, if they're not written, I can almost guarantee that they're not focused enough. It reminded me of a Harvard Business Review study that I have in one of my cohorts. And in the study, it showed that 83% of people don't have a goal at all. So you're beating 80+% by just having a goal, having a specific measurable accomplishment that you want to achieve in a certain time frame. 14% of them have a plan in mind. They kind of know what they want to do, but only 3% of people had it written down. They had it written down so they can see it, so they can revisit it. I think that's very important. You're in the top 3% if you just write your goal down. That's going to help you get focused. Remember, get a goal and get focused. All right, hold on one second. Our internet has been down, and someone is here to fix the internet so that I can get these videos loaded up, and then it'll take 5 hours. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, now that that's taken care of, hopefully we've got some internet. Hopefully these videos are a lot faster to load up. You got to focus. What do you focus on is the question. Well, if you look on page 14 in this chapter, John Maxwell says another way is to focus on exceptional opportunities that promise a huge return. It comes down to this: give your attention to the areas that bear fruit. What's bearing fruit in your life? What I wrote in the margin is, where are things going well for you right now? And then once you find out what area of your life that's in, look in that direction. What's going on in that direction? Can you do more of that that's going to get you closer to your goal? It makes me think of something that I teach leaders in our leadership development program, which is called critical success factors, the things that drive success in your role. I think it applies here, the things that drive success in your life. And John Maxwell actually uses the 80-20 rule, just like I use it inside of that program, and that is you got to find the things that are your top 20% activities. So as you're moving towards this goal, what are your top 20% activities? Because 20% of the things that you are doing are producing 80% of the results in your life right now. And 80% of the things you're doing are only producing 20% of the results. And you can find yourself exhausted and frustrated if you're focused on those 80% activities. But you find yourself motivated, fulfilled, feeling successful if you're focusing daily on those top 20% activities. So that's a great reflection. What are the top 20% activities that are driving success in my life right now? What am I doing that I'm getting results, that I feel like I'm moving forward? And then where are those things taking me? Get a goal and get focused. All right, the last thing I wrote in the margin was strive for excellence. On page 20, it says, I strive for excellence in a few things rather than good performance in many. I think that's so important as we're getting focused. There are so many things we could do, but that doesn't mean we should do them. No, the power of focus is taking the light through the magnifying glass. The power of focus is not spreading everything out, but zeroing it in to say, here's my goal, I'm going to get focused, and this is what I'm going to achieve. Well, I hope this chapter has helped you. I hope you now have a goal, and I hope you now know what you need to focus on, your top 20% activities. And tomorrow, we're going to look at how do we harness creative thinking. How do we harness creative thinking? Because once you've got a goal, once you've got a plan, now you got to be creative to get where you want to go. We will continue this journey on how successful people think. I'll see you tomorrow.